Hi guys, and welcome to another kit review. Only a kit review with a slight difference. So as you can see, we are going to be having a look at a Kubelwagen from Heller. Now I've never seen this kit before. The kit number for this one is 81106, and it was made, or released I should say, in 1994. Now I picked this one up for dirt cheap because it is already half built, but I thought that I'd show you this one because it is quite interesting in what it includes. Alright, so as you can see, standard Kubelwagen with an officer standing here, what obviously looks like a bunker of some description, and probably we'll assume Normandy. Alright, so that's really nice box art, quite nice. So on the side, a little bit of information about the Kubelwagen. On the other side, all the usual warnings in various languages. So as I said, this one has been built. So this is how it came to me. It was in the plastic bag. As you can see, it has been built. You do get a decal sheet. I kept the loose parts in the bag. A set of assembly instructions, and also a separate history sheet about the Kubelwagen, and 2 sprues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this and tidy it up, and then we'll have a look at the decal sheet and the instructions, and then we'll have a look at the actual kit itself. So let's have a look at the instructions. I'll put the decals aside for now. You do have separate history sheet of the Kubelwagen development, specifications, etc. in various languages, plus your usual warnings, etc. On here, this is the 4-page assembly instructions. So fairly straightforward build. You have the base of the Kubelwagen, seats going in, pedals, etc. Sides going together, the back and the front going on. Overleaf, wheels are going on. Then you do have a choice if you want. The doors are not optional, they have to be closed, but you do get the full canopy or folded up canopy for the Kubelwagen, depending on how you want it done. It does show you to trim a couple of pieces off, depending on how you want the canopy to sit. Tools going on, very, very easy construction. You do get a table and chairs, a radio set, and the Zelp Barn shelter, which is the interesting part. And 2 figures, although it only shows you this one. This is your officer figure, which is obviously supposed to be Rommel. So that is interesting. Overleaf, you've got 2 colour schemes, so to speak. 21st Panzer Division in Normandy, and Grossdeutchland in, I would say, Grossdeutchland Eastern Front, 1942. So that's the very basic instructions. Let's have a look at the decal sheet. So decal sheet, not too bad. It does have these here, which are your blackout white lines for the mudguards, which you probably wouldn't have to use. It does have the divisional and tactical insignia, I should say, not signia, insignia, for the 2 versions. So not too bad. I'm not sure how well these decals are going to be when it comes to putting them on. I get the feeling they're not going to be that great. I can already see that where there should be a black line around the number plates, it's not complete, but I'll give you a shot of these decals anyway, so you can have a closer look. So now let's have a look at the Kubelwagen itself. So as you can see, it is already partially built, not painted, so I can get away with that. As far as size is concerned, this is exactly the same size as the Tamiya one, so no dramas there. The detail is really nice and sharp. I will have to do a bit of cleanup where a bit of flash has been missed or something like that, but that's not too bad. It's even got the hooks on the back, so I'm not sure why it wasn't finished. This would have been an easy one to build, but the interior details, really nicely done. So yeah, it shouldn't be a hard one to finish this kit. So that's the body, and I'll give you some shots of that. So let's just have a look at the loose parts, the clears. So you've got two headlights. This is the rear clear bit for your full canopy, and of course the windscreen. Now that's one full windscreen with the windscreen frame and the wiper blades and everything on it, so that's quite nicely done. And unfortunately it's a little bit scratched, but I might see if I can polish that out. It won't be too hard to polish that out. So that, I'll give you a look at the clear parts. So this is the driver figure, I assume. It's not mentioned in the instructions. It could be radio operator. As you can see, he's only wearing shorts. Has an interesting gap here, which I'm not sure why, but I think that's only because he's a driver. Needs a bit of cleanup around the mold lines. He's obviously dressed for the desert. That's why he is shirtless, so maybe that's why he was never completed. Doesn't really suit a European build, more like an Africa Corps one, but still not a bad looking figure. I wish I had a body like that. Anyway, I don't know about his shoulder blades though. They look a bit pronounced. Anyway, that is the driver figure. What else is loose is the steering wheel, and that belongs onto this particular sprue, which is your canopy, your wheels, your folded canopy, your other figure, which is Rommel, and tools, and the table and chairs. So let's have a look at those, and I'll turn this guy over. So this is supposed to be Rommel, and the detail is really nice. It's quite sharp, and yeah, I think I could paint him up to be Rommel. Separate arms. He's carrying a pair of binoculars. He has separate boots, which is interesting, and a separate, let's see if I can get that, turn that round so you can see, separate cap with goggles on it. So it is definitely Rommel in his usual garb. So not too bad. Clean up along the mold lines. Shouldn't be too hard. These are your spare tire, of course, and main wheels. There is a mold line around the wheel, but I can clean that up enough. So this is your seat and your table. This is the canopy, and I'm not sure if you can see it. Hopefully it'll show up in the still, but it does have stretch. You can feel that it does have stretch marks where it has been folded out. That is a really nice detail, and that's a detail that I'd love to see on other kits like Tamiya's Kubelwagen and stuff like that. That stretch mark is typical of a hood that's been folded up and down and all over the place. There's your folded one, quite good, quite nicely done. So I'll give you some shots of this particular sprue, even though half of it has already been built. And the last sprue I'm going to show you is this one. So this is your Zelp Barn shelter, your radio set, MP40, and 2 styles of helmets. There is your Africa Corps pith helmet, standard steel helmet. You do even get headset, binoculars, etc. So the rest of it is the mirrors and fittings, no-tech light, etc. for the Kubelwagen. So they're not bad details, and this in itself is one of the reasons why I thought I'd show you this one, even though it is partially built kit. So I think that's great little diorama accessory. So nice detail on it, nice canvasy kind of folded material detail. Not sure about the size. I'm trying to remember what my Zelp Barn, how big that was. And yes, I really did have one, a genuine Zelp Barn. Don't have it anymore. Lost it in some bushfires that we had here in Australia in the 90s. A genuine Zelp Barn from World War II. I think it was a little bit smaller, but I can't remember. It was that long ago. Let's have a look at the MP40. That's quite nice. I do like that. And the radio set. See if I can get that close so you can have a look. Nice detail on the radio set. So they alone are really nice details. Not sure about the pith helmet. Oops, sorry, that went out of focus, didn't it? Not sure about the pith helmet. That looks a bit odd in its shape, but still, that would be something very different to put on the seated figure. You could make him the radio operator with his headphones on or something like that. I think that would come out quite nicely for a Africa diorama setup. All right, so I'll give you some shots of that. And that's it, guys. That is, I'll put this one up here. That is Heller's Kubelwagen. Kit number 81106, released in 1994. So like I said, that's the first time I've ever seen a Kubelwagen from Heller. Detail on it looks really nice. It does quite easily match Tamiya's Kubelwagen in detailing and crispness, but I do like the accessories, the table and chairs, and especially the Zelp Barn shelter. That's most unusual accessory. All right, so as I said, that brings us to the end of this review. Hope you got something from it. Hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, guys, thank you for your comments and your likes and your subscriptions. They are really appreciated. And also, as usual, because it is the end of the video, until next time, take it easy, stay safe, and I will see you later.